Welcome to another Optivity webinar, where we are exploring exciting topics in health innovation, cutting-edge technologies, and living well. You are joined by hundreds of people like yourself who are interested in learning more about stress management. And April is Stress Awareness Month, so we want to spread awareness about the cause and cure of stress, especially for modern professionals in the workplace. And I'm your host, Tasneem, welcoming you to this community webinar on the important topics of stress management. Today, we will talk to you about identifying your stressors and the potential coping mechanisms. Here with me to chat about this topic is our CEO, Jane. Welcome, Jane.
Hello.
A little bit of our background about us and our professional experience. Jane spent almost a decade in health management with patients from clinical research. Her expertise are in adherence, helping patients prevent adverse events, and daily micro-interactions. And I'm Tasneem. I'm a wellness advisor at Optimity, creating content for specialized topics for our clients to address chronic health issues. My background is in health policy, and I'm passionate about health equity. My dream is to eliminate social and economic barriers that restrict someone from getting access to the right information and care to obtain their optimal health. As the hundreds of guests arrive, I want to take a moment to go over some housekeeping items to give you the best webinar experience. Please connect to audio using your computer's microphone and speaker, or select Use Telephone after joining the webinar to turn on sound. All guest lines are muted to avoid background noise. Type in your questions in the tool and we will answer them during the QA period. After the webinar, the slides and recording will be sent out to you to share with others. There are 2 handouts from this session, a stress test and a comprehensive questionnaire on stress and burnout. They are downloadable in the tools section. Great, let's begin. At Optimity, we provide a dynamic wellness tool to engage people like yourself in achieving optimal health. In fact, Optivity means the state of being best. We provide a mobile app. It's personalized to you, your job function, your gender, and your own health goals. We support you with a robust and holistic health content library spanning everything from physical exercise, nutrition, mental health, to financial wellness. And in this case, stress management. We also recommend activities to you based on people like yourself, so similar jobs, similar personalities, and similar goals. You can access the Pocket Coach via any mobile device or via our website. It is a pocket health coach that syncs with your calendar. It gives you small, fun challenges, which earns you improvements in health and awareness, also gets you points for rewards, and of course, a lot of bragging rights. The reason why we provide webinars is because we want to help address some key issues in proactive health coaching, such as low participation, poor adherence, and no adaptation of the programs based on the person you are. We provide a fully integrated health coaching solution that turns raw data into insights and helpful daily tips. And we have achieved over 77% participation in 2016 and 2017. Our weekly adherence rate is averaged at 43%, which means people are able to use technology consistently and change their lives and habits, bit by bit, every day, every week, leading to better health. We adapt the program to popular topics and your interests on the go. So today, we will be sharing our knowledge and giving you useful tips on stress management that you can take back with you to your organization and you use yourself, even if you don't yet have Optimity. Of course, if you have any questions during the webinar, you can put them into the QA panel or email our team at engage@myoptimity.com or me directly at tasneem@myoptimity.com. All right. So let's begin. Let's get started. On today's agenda, we will talk about the cause and types of stress, how stress affects the body, how to combat stress, the benefits of de-stressing, and the use of technology to manage daily stressors. So Jane, I know we have resources from Carleton, APA, and Heads Up organization on stress for April. I know while some workplace stress is normal, excessive stress can interfere with our productivity and performance. It can also impact our physical and emotional health and affect relationships and home life. It can also mean the difference between success and failure on the job. Can you help explain what exactly is stress and why does it have the power to impact both my health and the productivity in the workplace?
Well, stress is a harmful physical and emotional response that occurs when there's a poor match between job demand and the capabilities, resources, or even need of the worker. So it's important to note that stress is both an emotional and also a physical strain caused by our response to the pressure from the outside world. Common stress reactions will include muscle tension, emotional irritability, the inability to concentrate, and a variety of physical symptoms that include headaches and a faster heartbeat. It's almost impossible to live without some stress in the workplace, as we all know, and most of us wouldn't want to because it actually gives life some spice and excitement and makes you feel alive. But if the stress gets out of control, that's where it may harm your health and your relationships and, of course, your enjoyment of life, as you mentioned, Taz. And we can't control everything in our work environment, but it doesn't mean that we're powerless. So even if we're stuck in a tough situation, whatever your ambitions are and your work demands, there's definitely steps that you can take to note, to understand, to be aware, and also protect yourself from the damaging effect of stress long-term on your health. I think, what makes today's topic so useful is talking about the causes of stress. It's important to remember that what is experienced is as stressful could be very subjective. So for example, for someone who may find a particular experience stressful, such as traveling for work, while others may not find that stressful at all. So it really depends on our own frame of reference and what we're used to and our personalities. And we all have our own way of dealing with situations. So each of us handle pressure slightly differently. As we learn, skills from our past experiences, situation, our family's way of doing it, old wiser people, mentors, the different individuals may have some of us are just better equipped to cope with some types of stress situations. So it's important to be mindful of the signs of stress for yourself. So I prepared some material about identifying the different types of stress. Generally, they can be categorized into 2 broader categories and 4 more granular categories. So the 2 broad one is physical and emotional, and the granular ones, we can really think about cognitive symptoms and also behavioral symptoms. When there's an imbalance between the demand of your job or everyday life and your ability to cope, you're likely to develop these signs of stress, and they may include on the physical side a racing heart, headache, fatigue, and emotionally, you may feel anxiety, the feeling of panic, frustration, overwhelmed. And the cognitive side, we will notice that in our workplace productivity. So this is forgetfulness, the difficulty of concentrating, negative self-statements, or poor judgment is usually when the judge is out. And the last part is behaviorally, we may overeat or undereat. We will be working longer hours when we're stressed. We may procrastinate specific tasks that we're silently stressed about, and then we may also have other nervous habits, little tics that we have that are unique to ourselves. So for example, Taz, how do you feel when you're giving a presentation?
Like right now, butterflies in my stomach. I have a behavioral symptom. I bounce my foot as I'm bouncing my foot right now.
Yeah, and I mean, it's different, right? Some people may feel very comfortable speaking in front of folks, and when people are not. So when going through year-end reviews or talking to your boss or talking to a client, it's interesting to note what could be a trigger for you. So noting is a very good technique to identify causes of these stressful times. So it could be you could hate planning meetings, you could hate phone calls, who knows? But it's important to know that you're different and what those stressors mean. When you do identify a particular trigger for yourself, you can start understanding what's happening to your body. And this is where it becomes more interesting for people who are scientific and would like to look at what's the emotional and the physiological impact on the body. So I'm going to really kind of talk about it from head down. We'll start. Maybe we can talk about the stressful cycles. So for example, once you do notice that there's a trigger, naturally your body has this alarm. So you kick into this fight or flight type of response, and then within it, your body actually resists. And this is what makes us great as humans. We're naturally kind of adaptive. So your body will resist, but then as you resist, you're kind of exhausting extra energy, you're burning extra glucose, and that's why oftentimes we feel exhaustion. So that's the last phase of after a stressful situation, you'll feel personally drained or your health is drained, your immune system will be down. So when we kind of break down everything from the head to toe, you may experience headaches, breathing. Your central nervous system is in charge of your fight or flight response. So in your brain, there's a little part called the hypothalamus, and it's telling your adrenal glands to release these stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. And these hormones increase your heartbeat. It's a full nervous system, so it's actually holistic in its effect to you. Historically, it helps, really you run away from that predator that's going to eat you. But in the workplace, that's, that's not really the case. But your body is programmed to do that, so it sends blood rushing into areas that's needed mostly for your emergency. So this is muscles, your heart. This is why your heart races as well. The stress hormones can affect your respiratory, so your breathing. During this stress response, your breathing will be faster in an effort to quickly distribute oxygen-rich blood into your body, so that you already have, so especially if you have breathing problems like asthma, stress can make it even harder to breathe. Interestingly, right after your heart response, because with a faster heart rate, it also raises your blood pressure. And as we all know from our past Healthy Heart webinar, that the high blood pressure can lead to unhealthy heart. So continuous stress is really harmful towards the heart. And your liver, which kind of sits right under your heart, it produces extra blood glucose, right? Extra sugar, for you to have that boost of energy if you're running away from that bear. And if you're under chronic stress, your body may not be able to keep up with these like extra glucose surges, which also means chronic stress that will increase your chances of developing type 2 diabetes. There's a rush of hormones. Rapid breathing, increased heart can also upset your digestive system, right? Because there's just more going on internally. You're more likely to have heartburn, acid reflux, and this is all thanks to the increase of stomach acids. So stress actually doesn't cause ulcers, but it does increase your risk for them because it's really increasing the stomach acid that you have. When you go into your diet, like the lower intestines, stress can also affect the way that food moves through your body. So it leads to diarrhea, constipation. You may also experience nausea, vomiting, and stomach ache. It's that sick feeling that you have in your stomach when you see the performers puking before they go on stage. That's also triggered by the stress releases. So the stress is exhausting both for the body and the mind. It's not unusual to lose your desire for food when you're under consistent stress. While in the short term, the stress may cause men to produce more male hormone, testosterone, this effect doesn't last. So the stress continuing for a long term, the men's testosterone levels can begin to actually drop. So I think it's kind of an interesting phenomenon. For women, the stress can also affect menstrual cycles. It can lead to irregular, heavier, more painful periods. The chronic stress may also magnify lots of physical symptoms of menopause, especially if you're older. This stress, it basically stimulates a lot of the immune system, which can be a plus for the immediate situation if you're actually escaping from a bear, but because in the office situation, we're not actually expending that energy, a lot of times it just weakens your immune system. It reduces your body's response for foreign invaders, which is why under stress, we get, viral sickness like flu or common cold. We're more prone to additional infections, and it also decreases the time that we recover from illness and injury. So if we had, an ankle sprain, it's interesting to know that we actually may recover slower if we are consistently stressed. So now that I've talked through all the bodily parts, are there some coping mechanisms that we can have that you can share with us?
Well, first, we should relax. All of us should take a deep breath. While taking a deep breath is the oldest trick in the book, you can enhance the calming effect of this simple tip with some basic body mechanism. It's simple. When you breathe in, imagine the air inflating your stomach instead of your chest. Push your stomach outwards to draw air down, then pull it back in to really empty your lungs of air. Put some muscle into it for 3 breaths, then fall back into your normal rhythm, newly relaxed and ready to take on your task. The next meditation technique is to use to combat anxiety and stress, and is a fast way to reconnect with your body without going anywhere. Start at your toes, tensing and slowly releasing. Then work your way up to your body, tensing the muscles up there, then releasing the muscles in your feet, your legs, then your torso, then your arms, your neck, and even your face. It doesn't take long to work all the way up your body, and you'll finish feeling energized, ready to tackle the day anew without having left your desk. Stress in the office feels inescapable, but it doesn't have to be that way. Remember, take the time to care for yourself, and you'll reap the rewards with smoother workflow and increased productivity. Now that we're aware of our triggers, we can also go into our app for support. It has many stress coping activities, and they are not all just breathing. They work on all aspects of your physical and emotional responses. These are just a few examples. The first one is about cravings. You will have cravings for sugar, so try to skip sugar. This activity is a helpful reminder that a lot of processed snacks have way too much sugar added to them to give it more taste, give it the flavor or the texture. So instead of, that chocolate bar you might pick up during the day, look for a healthier alternative like fruits to fit your midday sweet tooth. Second one is your muscles will be tense and you may not have time to exercise right now. But no worries, the app has plenty of desk exercise activities that you can do right from your seat. This one is to engage your core, which can easily be done by sitting at your desk, tightening your abdominal muscle, and extending each leg to the hip. So it's just 30 seconds, helps you center yourself before your next task. The third activity is the classic technique, like mindful breathing. Even a simple breathing exercise can help ease the mind and anxiety to reduce stress. Fourth one is the last sample activity, helps you both get a bit of social time and a bit of exercise. It's a group challenge that encourages you to connect with your colleagues and be fit together. We also mentioned earlier, stress can be reduced by introducing little micro challenges into your daily work life that will help reduce stress and improve overall health. The 3 key principles I want to focus on today starts with social support. Notice that stress is not just happening to you, it's probably happening to the folks next to you as well. As important as social support is, many of us don't feel like we have access to this valuable resource. In a recent study of hundreds of working professionals, when asked if there is someone they can ask for emotional support, such as talking over problems or helping make difficult decisions, 70% said yes. However, more than half, 55%, also said they could have used a little more emotional support. In fact, experts say almost all of us benefit from social and emotional support. And though it may seem counterintuitive, having strong and social support can actually make you more able to cope with problems on your own by improving your self-esteem and sense of autonomy. You don't need a huge network of friends and family to benefit from social support. However, some people find friendship among just a handful of people, be their coworkers or their neighbors or friends from their church or religious institution, for instance. It's always good to know to yourself that others have been through the exact same or similar situation as you and get their support. Number 2 is watch what you eat. The stress hormone cortisol increases your appetite because of the body's extra need for energy, but also because the stressed body only runs on sugar and metabolizes carbohydrate to get energy. So, during a stress reaction, cortisol increases your blood pressure, and together with adrenaline helps accelerate your heartbeat and breathing. This sends glucose to the blood to help free up enough energy for the muscle and the brain. Consequently, a fuel shortage arises, and sugar guarantees a quick energy fix, making us excessively crave sweet foods. Over the last 50 to 100 years, a lot of new stress stimuli entered our lives, making it almost impossible for our brains to get enough glucose to deal with these stressors and process them. Our Western civilization adapted to this, offering carbohydrates and sugar-rich foods wherever we go. Comfort foods and drinks have become the quickest solution to our stress-related energy dips. So exhausting your insulin factory, you need to get insulin to get glucose, so that's the sugar, out of your blood and into your cells. Unfortunately, stress hormones make it difficult for your pancreas to secrete insulin. But it gets worse. The overload of sugar that you consume to make up the energy shortage during a chronic stress reaction makes your pancreas hyperactive. Over time, this hyperactivity disturbs your cells in the pancreas to such a degree that it won't be able to produce sufficient insulin anymore. Our absurdly high sugar intake eventually exhausts the pancreas or insulin factory, which explains why obesity and diabetes type 2 have become a silent epidemic of our time. Your nutritional needs increase in times of stress, making healthy food choices using the Canada's Food Guides to ensure your body has the nutrients it needs to meet the challenges for the day. Eat the recommended amount and type of food each day. Limit food and beverages in high calories, fat, sugar, and salt. Satisfy your thirst with water. The third principle is that exercise helps cope with stress. Studies show that aerobic exercise, like walking or running, has many stress-relieving benefits. It can improve your mood, help you sleep better, improve your focus and mental alertness, and make you feel fitter and more confident. It may even help your brain release dopamine, which causes a temporary runner's high, but that only happens occasionally according to research. Exercise will lower your blood pressure and help you maintain your weight, thus combating the effects of chronic stress on health. However, moderate exercise several times a week can protect you from this effect. Physical activity increases your body's ability to manage stress by improving our flexibility and physicality and balancing the hormones linked to stress, the adrenaline, the cortisol, and the endorphins. Be active at work. Take a break and go for a walk. Stretch at the workstation. Take the stairs instead of the elevators. Don't be afraid to laugh. It's your body's natural stress reliever. Do active things you enjoy. Working in a garden, go for a walk, go for a bike ride, go for a swim, get out and involve your friends, family, and coworkers. And don't forget to get enough sleep and be a non-smoker.
So thank you for that, Taz. It's really helpful in terms of tips and lots of dense information in here. Of course, at the employer level or the population health management level, de-stressing actually helps everyone. The impact on the workplace is seen in the numbers as well as in just a general feeling of a great workplace. When the individual experiences stress, it's not only impacting their work and their work behavior, their productivity, but also the broader work environment. So last year, employers spent an estimated $300 billion on stress-related absenteeism, turnover, and lower productivity and direct medical, legal, and insurance costs. And this is why we do the work that we do, because a lot of high stress organizations have increases in, absenteeism, high increased accidents rates. We've seen a lot of incidents in the blue collar sector where there's also poor interpersonal relations in the office when adrenaline irritability run high, poor and reduced work output and performance, and increased staff turnover. There was a recent Mercer study that also came out about the impact of poor mental health, and all of this is definitely directly related to the way that we cope and our environment at the workplace. So investing, into different types of workshops and focusing on resilience and mental health really helps the company build stronger interpersonal relationships in the workplace, a stronger output performance culture, decrease the absenteeism, and also staff turnover within that company. When we design our stress modules, we actually have a dynamic stress assessment module. So that's new in the portal if you have access to the portal. In here, within the handouts that Taz has prepared for you, you can see a sample of the two types of assessments that you can take. The first one is really kind of a stress test. It has a few different parts to it, 3 major parts. So the first part is really about matching the response. It talks about when you're feeling under stress, what's going on with your heart, brain, liver, muscle, and stomach. So the things that we were teaching you, here's a little mini test to see where your knowledge lies and how this can help you. The second part is really about awareness. It helps you think about, identify situations where you've experienced the stress, how you can write through how your body responds to that and why your body is responding to that. This really takes us out of this immediate reaction to understand how to cope it, building that resilience to cope with it on the long term. We also talk about the strategies that you could use to reduce this type of stress in the future, because we don't have enough time to oftentimes to just, we jump from one stressful situation to the next situation without taking the time to build up our arsenal of our own coping mechanisms. And the last part of this stress test is really practicing coping with stress. So practicing the deep breathing focus techniques, practicing getting enough physical activity so that you can, lace up and go for a walk and get your heart pumping so that you can expend that energy that your body's telling you to do the actual flight and fight part. And then the last part is actually stepping away from your stressor, stepping away from those triggers, identifying those triggers and stepping away from that. So that's a really great stress test that you can download in the material section. The second one is the stress and burnout questionnaire. It is a portion of our dynamic stress assessment. We use that information to recommend specialized coping mechanisms for you. So it helps you be more aware, but once you answer those questions, it also gives you targeted techniques to help you address your top issues. And it's actually quite contextual to your work environment and what type of work you do. So the recommendations we have for blue collar versus someone who's working from an office space, or someone who's more internally focused versus external, is quite different. So it's interesting to check that out. And we're really innovating in the space of prevention. So being able to target the high impact issues with habit data and dynamically help you on a daily basis. Our overall focus on health is really based on 5 different pillars. It starts with productivity, reduce health costs, stronger culture, but it also focuses on retaining talent, because consistent stress is one of the reasons many people seek alternative careers and ways of dealing with that. When you cope with mental health on a wider scheme, you'll see that there's a change in morale, and we've seen that in employee engagement surveys. So that's a really positive indicator for when you have had an impact in your group. We measure all the results, and as you should too. So there's new case studies coming out, and generally we focus on either the engagement numbers or the amount of hours HR folks spend on creating successful programs, or even more quantitatively, we take a look at your costs, so your drug spends and your claims and things like that. When you notice, so it's important to pay attention to your engagement numbers in your portals, apps, wearables, whatnot, or even your classroom coaching sessions. Some common pitfalls are about the fact that it's seasonal, they seem like it's a fad, there's not a lot of adoption, people abandon their wearables, or if you don't have a follow-up to a classroom coaching. That's why even for us, we try to give you a lot of tips and actionables, and we'll ask you to do assessment 30 days later too, to see how it's going for you. So if you do see graphs like this in your engagement, that means you're not quite doing enough, because the shape that you want to see is kind of like this. So this is when you know that there is actually sustained engagement and usage. This technology, of course, enables us to impact a great, really large population with a small team. What we can do here for you is really help with the recommendation, help with that automatic stress testing, and then be able to give that to you or your colleagues in a way that's contextual to them. So it syncs to their calendar, it's opportunistic, it can connect everything, so it's sustainable. The experience that you get on your phone with the notifications are, of course, contextual to you, contextual to your day. The activities are quite small, so micro activities. Everything that Taz shared with you today is less than 1 minute. So especially for stress coping, you want it to be immediate, you want to be able to be aware and then be able to expend some of that sugar and calm that breathing down, so addressing both the physical and also emotional part. So as an employee, each employee, all of us, we can make healthier choices. And I hope that today Optimity has helped you be more aware and be able to make healthier, less stressful choices. And as an organization, be able to drive better productivity. If you're turning on the stress modules today after the webinar, please also make a note that we can do a measurement for you. So we're measuring the change over a 90-day period. Typically, we see tightening of the clusters of groups, so you can really look at, how has it changed for managing stress levels, how are people rating themselves on the following, so energy, posture, activity, hydrate, but you can see that stress is one of the most important things that we deal with at any workplace.
So let's summarize what we went together today. We talked about what stress is and how to manage it, but we also looked at preventative measures technology can play to improve their health. So the top 3 ways to de-stress were social support, healthy eating, and relaxing. The workplace can do better to foster better conditions to decrease stress in the workplace, which is why it's important to de-stress. If you're interested in learning more about creating a healthy workplace campaign and engagement strategy, please reach out to us at engage@myoptimity.com or to me directly at tasneem@myoptimity.com. Thank you and have a great rest of the day.